All right. This is a continuation of our presentations on coping with COVID. This one specifically is called Kids Coping with COVID. I want to review a few of the key points that we've made already, which is that the COVID experience is an opportunity. All adversity creates an opportunity for us to grow and evolve as people and as families. What we get with the first step we talk about is connection through isolation. And the point that makes is that when we cut out so much of the rest of the worldly connection, that it compresses our connection into self and family. And that puts a particular kind of, both it creates the opportunity for more connection, as well as creating pressure to create more connection. Often we go through day-to-day life, as life is very, very busy, and tolerate imperfections in our marriage or imperfections in our family situation because we're just too busy to see to it, and it's not as big a piece of our lives. When everything else is cut out, it really forces us to do more. And so the term I put down here, it's about connection through isolation. What that means is by being isolated from the rest of the world, it makes us create a much better connection, or at least pressures us to create a better connection with our families. The next step is the issue about, during quarantine, is evolution through isolation. And what that means is that we actually, as individuals and families and couples, have the opportunity to evolve and become really truly better if we take to heart the challenge that this adversity creates us. However, today we go to the next step, which is recently we found out that children will be required to return to school this coming fall, and everybody is feeling a lot of anxiety about that possibility. And so we're going to talk about some of the key kind of concepts to consider in terms of working with your children and making this process work the very best that it can. So we're talking about, in this case, we're talking about reconnection without infection. And the point there being that this will present an opportunity for children to reconnect with their peers. In a lot of cases, it's been 100 days since they've seen their main peer groups, and perhaps they have a few little friends they talk to on video, but for the most part, they've been disconnected in a real way from people. But they're going to re-enter this situation, one, with anxieties about the COVID disease still being active, as well as awkwardness of not being around their friends, and as well as having to go into those situations wearing masks and not being able to touch each other. So that creates a lot of anxiety around that kind of an opportunity presented. We talk about how do we help to create that reconnection without infection in an effective way. We talk about parents' role in this. Parents' role is understanding children's fears and strengths and reassuring and reframing. What that means is that parents, and most often this part of the roles is more often a mom's role than a dad's. Moms and dads naturally tend to have different roles, although certainly your family may do it differently. I'm not going to tell you how to do it, but the tendency tends to be that mom is more the nurturer, comforter, protector. And so on the front end of this, what we're looking for mom to be able to do is to have time with the kids and really find out on a one-to-one basis, not as a group, but a one-to-one basis, what are your concerns? Do you have any concerns? In my experience, although I'm a very sensitive guy, still I experience that my children will tell their mom stuff they won't tell me. So mom is more likely to be in that role of really understanding, and when they understand what their child's fears and insecurities are, partially because the children tells them that, partially because you know your kids, and you know what their vulnerabilities and their strengths are, and you can begin to kind of frame a perspective that suits them particularly. And what we get to doing in that regard is we talk about the idea of reassurance and reframing. Reassurance means giving them a way of looking at this that helps them to feel secure and comfortable. Reframing means helping them to shift the way they may be looking at it so that it's a way of seeing it that is more comfortable but still very functional. The next one we go to is the idea of developing confidence, competence, and empowerment. This is more often a job that falls to dad. Again, as I mentioned earlier, one of my daughters a long time ago said, "Yeah, Dad, but you're kind of a mom." And I really am kind of that. I'm a very touchy-feely guy, but the truth is that empowerment role tends to fall to me more. And so dads are more likely to go to action plans. How do you think about this? What do you do? How do you handle it? And with a mindset of kind of a sense of empowerment. Some of the things we can do with that sense of empowerment are things like making it something that's a little more challenging, a little more playful. The thing that we see being done a lot these days is air hugs. And so you can kind of teach them about air hugs and other ways to be able to lighten up that experience as they re-enter the school situation. The last point to make about this is to functionally collaborate with the school or any other environment that the kids go into. Is you know that teachers and principals are really putting a lot of thought and energy into how do we make this thing work for our kids. And so I'm sure they will have ideas and strategies that they're wanting to put in place to make this work for kids. The best thing parents can do is find out what those strategies are and then help their children to be able to work with that. That way you really are working collaboratively with a very caring environment and making this thing work the very best you can. So if you choose to undertake this challenge, these are some basic kind of ideas that we'll work with. We're going to follow up on this with a particular show we're going to do specifically targeted at children, probably elementary age children, that's more playful and fun, and hopefully will give them a fresh and useful way to think about this experience.